If you fly a long enough distance or between obscure enough cities, you will inevitably have to deal with layovers. After all, commercial flights are crazy complicated, and an airline isn't going to start flying a brand new route just because you want to go somewhere. So what are these strange stopping points breaking up your journey? What exactly do you, the presumably tired and confused passenger, have to do when you get there? And what do you need to do on international layovers? For those of you who aren't so knowledgeable about flying, the key thing to remember here is that airlines are commercial enterprises with set routes. Airlines fly to places where enough people are willing to pay them, so New York to London is a bit more likely to receive a direct air link than, say, Chisinau to Ouagadougou. Both cities are pretty small, and the Wikipedia article for Burkina Faso-Moldova relations doesn't even exist. For this reason, if you choose to fly between the two cities, expect to spend a few hours in a third city, most likely Istanbul. So how do these things work? Well, let's go through a few scenarios. I'll actually go through some scenarios I've been through myself, not just as a flex, but also so you know that I know what I'm talking about, and so I don't have to do as much research. This will essentially be a beginner's guide on what you need to do on layovers, so forgive me if the information here is a bit basic at times, but the way I see it, this is stuff everyone should know, so if you don't already know this stuff, there's no shame in that. In fact, that's why I'm making this video. Or actually remaking, because yes, this is a remake of a video I made back in 2019. Just with better animations, more information, and hopefully better narration. I did not mean for that to rhyme. Let's start with simple domestic flights, where you won't have to worry about getting your passport checked or anything like that. That'll be in the next few scenarios. For this scenario, let's say you're going from Portland to New Orleans. As of May 2026, there is a direct flight connecting the two cities, but Alaska only operates it seasonally, and even then, a direct flight existing is no guarantee that it'll be the cheapest option for you. So going there, you might be routed somewhere else, let's say Dallas. So once you check in for your flight at PDX, you should actually get 2 boarding passes, as you'll be flying on 2 different flights. Since your layover is in Dallas, you will of course look for the flight to Dallas, not New Orleans. Upon arrival in Dallas, all you need to do then is look for the gate for your New Orleans flight. Keep in mind, gates change, so do look at the departure boards, even if a bit excessively. However, once you're in Dallas, you don't need to recheck your bags, go through security again, or any of that stuff. That's already taken care of. Okay, now let's go international. Let's say you start in Vancouver and want to go to Berlin, and are routed through Toronto. So this is country A to country B via another city in country a domestic flight followed by an international flight. Most airports have separate areas for domestic and for international flights, and YVR is one of those airports. So when you check in for your flight at YVR, because you're only going to Toronto first, the domestic terminal is where you should go. This is because other people exist. You might be ending your day in Germany, but the woman in the seat to your left is ending her day in Sudbury, while the guy in the seat to your right is ending his day passed out in a Wendy's on Keele Street, so you're not all flying internationally. So once you've flown across Canada and landed in Toronto, then you go to the international gates. Side note, this was also my experience with Malaga to Portland via Amsterdam, a domestic flight followed by an international flight. This is because, for most immigration purposes, the Schengen area sort of acts as one country. So a flight from Spain to the Netherlands operates as a domestic flight, even though they are different countries. Hopefully word has gotten out about that over the past 400 years. What about the reverse though? What if you're flying internationally and your layover is in the same country as your destination? For this, we'll take a flight from Athens to Portland, stopping in Atlanta. An 11-hour flight followed by a cross-country flight. Yes, that was painful. Now, since the original Athens is in Greece, and both Atlanta and Portland are in the United States, I of course had to go through US Customs. This happened in Atlanta, not in Portland, for the same other people exist principle. Lots of people were on that Delta flight, but most of them were probably flying Raleigh to Portland, or Cincinnati to Portland, or even Atlanta to Portland directly. Besides, I would eventually have to go through US Customs either way, so I may as well just do it when I actually enter the US. Now, this isn't the same in every country, But when entering the United States, you usually have to go through security once again after you complete customs. Usually the way it goes is, first you wait in a long line to get your passport checked, and possibly stamped if you're a foreigner. This is actually not customs, but immigration. We may call this whole thing customs, but customs actually comes next, after you've taken your check bags off the carousel so you can declare things like food, plants, non-prescription drugs, anything the officials might be sus about. Basically, immigration is where officials check your identity, and customs is where they check what you're bringing with you. Then, if everything works out and they let you in the country, you will recheck whatever bags you want to recheck, and then be put through security once more. Though most US airports might offer a special security area set aside for connecting passengers. Let's up the ante a little bit. Let's now say you're flying from one country to another country via a third country. For this example, we'll use Portland to London via Amsterdam. Now, since the Netherlands is in the Schengen area, but both the US and the UK aren't, did I have to go through Schengen immigration or customs when I took this flight? No. Most airports in Europe, as well as other parts of the world, operate their international flights completely separately from their domestic flights. When departing from countries like the US, Canada, or the UK, passengers simply board the plane and leave the country, maybe with a quick facial scan at the gate. But you very frequently see international flights right next to domestic flights. However, in areas like the Schengen area, passengers effectively go through immigration a second time to leave the country. This creates a separate area that allows connecting passengers to simply walk through the airport without having to wait through a long immigration line, which is very convenient when you only have an hour-long layover. However, do be advised that when you arrive in London, this also means that for all intents and purposes, you were never in the Netherlands at all. I've made that mistake on my declaration card. Also, whether or not you can just stroll through the airport without an immigration check varies depending not just on which country you're going through, but also which airport you're going through. So research ahead. This isn't quite the same in North America though. Canadian airports make it a little easier, but the US doesn't do this whole international zone thing. So if you're connecting in the US, even to a third country, anyone connecting to, say, Mexico, will be put in the same line as anyone connecting to New Mexico. So if you need a visa to enter the US, you will need to apply for a transit visa. This is also true if you're taking 2 layovers in a row in country B. So if you're flying, just to pick a random example, Lisbon to Brasilia to Sao Paulo to Lima, you are very much going to Brazil. Let's do one more scenario. Suppose you've booked yourself a longer layover, and you've heard of other people stepping outside the airport and taking a day trip in their layover city. Is it safe to do this? Is it okay to leave behind the confidence of the airport while you're in the middle of your journey? Yes, calm down, you'll be fine. People do this all the time, and yes, I've done this too. Basically, if you want to do this, what's most important is to give yourself a lot of time. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from leaving the airport. There's not some legal force field keeping you in place. Well, maybe immigration. But do be warned that you will have to go through security again and get all the way back to your gate in time. Research the airport you're going through, how long immigration usually takes, especially during a bad day with long lines, how long it takes to get anywhere interesting in the city, and how much time you'll have to check back in on time. Also, if all your flights are under the same itinerary, any bags you check will likely go all the way through. But it never hurts to ask the staff about that when you check your bags. So that's a very basic guide to a layover. Remember, whether or not you leave the airport or go through immigration, or just have a short connection and need to run to your next plane, do be sure to remember that your biggest priority by the end of the layover is to get onto that second plane. Or third. Or seventh. If you got the ticket for your second flight at the first airport and missed the second flight though, airlines do generally have protocols in place in case that happens. Well, mostly. Maybe not with the cheaper airlines. You kinda get what you pay for in that case. But if you only ever take one piece of travel advice from me, let it be this. Research where you're going. Research the culture of the place you're traveling to, research how to get around the area, research what the weather is like, research the common tourist scams, research what national holidays might be approaching, but also research where your layover is in. Research whether or not you need a visa to visit that country, even if you don't plan to leave the airport. The best way is by looking up visa requirements for your passport citizens on Wikipedia, and make sure your connection is actually in the same airport. If your first flight lands in Istanbul airport and your next flight leaves 2 hours later, make sure it doesn't leave from Istanbul Sabiha Gökçen airport, or else you're not going to be able to make that flight. You're just not.